Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and welcome back to our Seldom Seen series. Now, a couple months ago, I did a Seldom Seen for a Ralphie movie. Now, as you know, Ralphie is Peter Billingsley from A Christmas Story. Well, Ralphie actually has 8 movies, and most people know of 3: A Christmas Story, A Christmas Story 2, and the one that was most recently made, A Christmas Story Christmas. But there are others. There are 5 other tales. And we're going to explore some of those. We already talked about The Phantom of the Open Hearth. Today we're going to be talking about The Great American 4th of July and Other Disasters, and The Star-Crossed Romance of Josephine Cosnowski, A Tale of Gothic Love. And as I said before, these are Ralphie movies from A Christmas Story. Now, basically what you have, so that you know what you're getting into if you see these, and like I said, these are obscure and they're pretty much lost, and it's a shame. These were both done by public TV in American Playhouse, but don't get me wrong, this one still has these two still have the same feel as A Christmas Story, and still have the same feel as The Phantom of the Open Hearth. So what we're doing is, this was a series, and these are about an hour long. This was the finale in season 2, I think, or the first season, and this was in season 3. Now, like last time, you have Randy, of course. You have Ralphie, Mom, and Dad, and Schwartz and Flick. And the mom is played by the same person who was in Phantom of the Open Hearth. So is the father. So you have that bit of connect. They're both connected right there. The mom's played by Barbara Bolton, and the father is James Broderick. And I've seen James Broderick before. If you guys see him, you'll probably instantly recognize him from a lot of 70s and 80s TV work. And you can really see how they cast Darren McGavin, because very similar look. They have a very similar look. So let's talk about the Great American 4th of July and Other Disasters first. This one actually has Matt Dillon playing a teenage Ralphie. And it's 4th of July, and some of these are so nostalgic for me. This also has, and is narrated by Gene Shepard, and is handled much like The Phantom of the Open Hearth. So you're getting into a kind of a lot of similarities here, so that you can enjoy these along with A Christmas Story and the others. So Matt Dillon plays Ralphie, and he talks about how his father was a sucker for fireworks. This one was so nostalgic for me, and how he was going to south of the border, and there used to be these bumper stickers for south of the border where there were all kinds of fireworks being bought and everything. And Ralphie talks about his dad loving fireworks and buying all kinds of fireworks for the 4th of July. Now, Ralphie is not into blind dates, and his buddy Schwartz talks him into going on a blind date. He nags him basically until he, goes through with it. And it's actually Schwartz's cousin, who is supposed to be kind of big and fat and has braces. Well, when Ralphie meets her, she doesn't look like that anymore. She's very attractive. And she was Miss Nebraska or Miss something, teenage pageant winner. And he starts to realize that he's the blind date. She's not. So it's, there's all these heartwarming things that happen. Matt Dillon is fantastic as Ralphie. There's more to this story, but I want to kind of leave it in case you guys can see it somehow. These movies are absolutely fantastic, and it's easy to see when you watch these where they took bits and pieces of these stories and put them into a Christmas story because they're just done so well. Okay, now we're going to move on to The Star-Crossed Romance of Josephine Cosnowski, A Tale of Gothic Love. This is actually rated higher than A Christmas Story, than the beloved A Christmas Story. We'll have to see where Joe and I rank it, but this is about, still have the same Flick and Schwartz from the last movie, and they did change the father, but they kept the mother. Maybe he was getting older, or maybe he passed away. I'm not really sure what happened. But you still have the same bit with Gene Shepard narrating from his car, and he's talking about the time he fell in love with a girl named Josephine Cosnowski, a Polish girl who moved into the neighborhood. She is beautiful, and Ralphie really wanted to date her. But he runs into a little bit of trouble, not only with her family, but with the culture shock that he's in for when he finally meets all of her relatives. It is so identifiable. It is so nostalgic because even though these were set in a different time, all of these Ralphie movies are set, of course, in the 40s or 50s. And but it still applies and it's still so identifiable. Um, this movie's fantastic. Again, it's the highest rated of all of the Ralphie movies, and I really like this one a lot. Um, they did replace Ralphie in this one, and um, with a different guy that I wasn't really sure who he was. I'm not sure if Matt Dillon didn't want to come back, or if he was only contracted to do one episode. But everyone who plays Ralphie is really, really good in my opinion. So check out both of these if you can. Uh, as I said before, physical media matters. Joe and I always say this, and these are movies that are lost. Um, they were originally TV movies, and TV movies get put on DVD and Blu-ray. What would be great is to get a box set that has all of the films, all 8 films. I think people would really appreciate it, and I think a lot of people would cherish these films. So, I'll state it again, physical media matters. And don't forget to check out Joe's Seldom Scene for The Great American 4th of July and Other Disasters, and The Star-Crossed Romance of Josephine Cosnowski, A Tale of Gothic Love. Again, physical media matters. And until next time, peace.